If you've ever had a failed campaign, then you understand exactly what it feels like to create a product, write your sales page, your landing page, create your whole email sequence, only for you to launch it. And you see that little bumpy revenue was nowhere near what you actually expected. If you've experienced that, then this video is going to show you exactly how to recover or bounce back from a failed campaign, and probably how to make the next email or email campaign you send be the best one you've sent so far. Now, if you want to recover from a failed campaign, there are three things you need to take note of. There are three mistakes people usually make, and in this video, we are going to cover those three critical mistakes and show you exactly how to fix them. So let's get started. So the first mistake most people make is that their email marketing system is leaking. Now, most people don't realize it's happening, but it's happening for most people. So imagine you have a pot and you're trying to fill it up with water using a cup. Now, let's say normally this pot will take 10 cups of water, but for some reason, your cup is leaking, so water is dripping all around. Now, after pouring 10 cups into this pot, you would realize that maybe your pot is about 70% full, right? So that means you now have to take some extra time and resources to pour more cups of water to compensate for what is lost. And this is exactly what happens with a lot of people's email marketing strategy. It is leaking sales, but not directly. First of all, it's actually leaking emails and then now leaking sales because of this lost email. So here's what I mean. Anytime you send out an email, you send it out to 100% of your list or 100% of a segment of your list. Now, the assumption is that all emails you send will get into the inbox. But that's not exactly how it works. Most times, if you send 100% of your emails, only about 84% on average actually gets to the inbox, which means you are losing, as if you have a broken pipe, you are losing 16% of emails that never actually get to your prospect inbox, which means you don't even have the chance to sell to them in the first place. Why does this happen? The technical term for this is called deliverability, right? Email deliverability, which basically means what percentage of the emails you send out actually gets to your customers or your recipient inbox? And the idea is that whenever you send emails, the inbox providers, so like Gmail, Yahoo, Outlook, all of them, they block out certain emails and prevent them from getting into the inbox at all because they think it is unwanted mail. And this correlates strongly with something called your sender score. So your sender score basically means how well does Gmail or Outlook or Yahoo actually love you as someone who sends emails. And the higher your score is, the more of your emails will actually get delivered. Meaning you can go from 84 now to 94 or to 99 or to 100. Right? So the idea is we want to increase the sender score so that more of our emails get delivered and we are not leaking sales like a lot of people are doing. The question now is, how do we actually do that? There are a lot of things we can do to improve our sender score and our deliverability, but I'm not going to touch on them. There are some technical things you could do. I'm not going to touch on them in this video. There are a lot of other videos you can watch for that. But I want to touch on some of the big stuff that if you do this, you should solve like 80% of cases. Now, the first of that is you need to build a high quality list. And what does that mean? That means you need to build a list of people that actually want to receive your emails. Now, try and understand where an inbox provider is coming from. Somebody like Gmail, Yahoo. What are they thinking? The idea is that they want to accept as many of the right emails as possible. They want to let it go through. But on the other hand, they want to stop as many of the wrong emails from entering as possible, which means you just need to be in this bucket. So, meaning things like spam, unwanted emails, promotional emails, they want to stop it from coming in or put it in the promotions tab. Why things like your work email or email from your friends, they want it to go into the primary tab. So the question now is, how do we make that happen? Make that happen by building a list of people that actually want to receive emails. So if everybody in your list actually opted in to receive your emails, and every time you send an email, they all open, they all read, they all click, those things send good signals to Gmail that you are wanted in the inbox. And by default, they would accept more of your emails coming in. So you have less of a leakage. So what does building a high quality list look like? It looks like different things. First of all, ensure that you only send emails to people that have actually opted in to receive those emails. Don't just add people randomly. Ensure that people join your list and know that they are joining a list where they will get emails. That's the first thing. The second thing is to actually screen people before joining your list. Now, there are a lot of tools you could use for this kind of stuff, but you can screen by throwaway emails. So throwaway emails are emails that people don't actually check, but they just use it to opt into marketing lists so that they can get like the free guide and stuff like that. You can block it using certain software. So you just need to scrutinize and ensure that the people joining your list are high quality. They know they are joining your list to receive promotional emails, and by default will be more likely to open and read from your emails. So they are sending good wanted signals to inbox providers, and you have less leakage. They allow more of your emails to actually get delivered. So that's the first step. The second step is you need to monitor your bounce rates. So what does it mean for an email to bounce? It basically means an email gets returned to the sender because it could not be delivered to the recipient. Now, the bounce rate is the percentage of emails that were returned back to the sender because they could not be delivered. Now, there are three types of bounces. There's soft bounce, there's hard bounce, and there's spam related bounce. And you need to monitor all these three. Now, depending on the software you use to send your emails, you should be able to track all of this. So soft bounce basically means your email could not be delivered, but it's for a temporary duration. So typically this means maybe the inbox of the person you're trying to reach is full, or the server that is handling their emails currently has a problem. So your emails cannot be delivered. But again, it's a temporary situation, right? So you don't have to do anything typically to resolve itself after a few days. Hard bounce, on the other hand, means it cannot be delivered permanently. Now, this typically means somebody used the wrong email address, or you have been blocked from delivering emails to a particular email inbox. Whenever you come across something like this, you need to delete those people from your list. Because if you don't, and your email keeps bouncing, what happens? It affects your sender score, which affects your what? Your deliverability. And by default, your email marketing system is going to be leaking more sales because now you are seen as unwanted. Your emails are constantly bouncing. The last type is spam related bounces. This is where your emails bounce because you have been marked as somebody that sends spam, and a lot of ISPs, that's internet service providers, or inbox providers like Gmail, Outlook, have noted your IP as spam, so they're not allowing any emails from your IP going into their inbox. Now, if you find something like this, if you see that your emails are bouncing because of spam, here's what you need to do. And this is the third point in fixing the leakage in your email marketing system. You need to check for blacklists. If your email are bouncing because of spam, it is likely you are on a blacklist. Now, a blacklist is what it sounds like. A list of IP addresses, email senders that inboxes and internet service providers reject their emails because they have been marked as spam. They have a track record of sending spam. So a lot of these inbox providers will automatically reject any email that comes from you. And that is usually why you would have a spam related bounce. Now, how do you solve this? You can use a tool called, I believe it's called MX Lookup. I'll add a link in the description. But if you go on there, you can put your website domain and it will show you how many blacklists you are on. And you can also appeal. So you can send a message to this blacklist that I'm not a spammer. You make your case, you argue why you're not a spammer, and they will remove you from the blacklist. However, it is important you don't do the things, you stop doing the things that landed you on the blacklist in the first place. And typically, it is because you didn't build a very high quality list. So you're probably sending emails to people who didn't sign up, so they mark you as spam. Or you have a really old list you haven't sent emails to in like 3 years, so they can't remember you. Whatever it is, you need to build a high quality list. You need to clean your list of invalid email addresses, bots, all of those, so that when you eventually appeal the decision of being on a blacklist, you don't get yourself back into that same situation. Like you have a very clean email strategy now that you're working with. But that's only the first issue. The first issue is what? Your email marketing is leaking. The second problem now, let's say you fixed your leaking email marketing and you want to be like, okay, let me move on. How do I actually ensure that my email campaigns are successful? You need to fix this second mistakes. Most email campaigns are unattractive. Your email marketing system is unattractive. And what that means is that the way you write and send your emails basically doesn't appeal to people to make them want to open, read, and buy. And that's why your email campaigns are flopping. You're seeing your sales stall because people are actually not opening your emails. Or if they open, they are not enticed to read or buy from it. Now, the question is, how do we solve this? What's the solution? You have to go back to how this works in real life. What makes people attractive in real life? There are a lot of things, but there are two major things I want to talk about here that make people actually attractive. The first is that one, they have attributes that pre-sell them. Now, when I say pre-sell, I mean attributes that make them attractive before you actually get to interact with them. So maybe somebody looks really good, they're really beautiful or handsome, or maybe they have a good sense of smart. They have a good sense of style, right? So they dress well, they have a good fit, all of that. Or maybe somebody's reputation precedes them. And so before you even interact with them, you've heard a lot about them and you're interested in them. Or maybe just the way they walk, the way they carry themselves. There's something about them that pre-sells them. Before you get to interact with them, you already know that this person seems fun to be around, seems like to be a good person for me to speak to. And in your email marketing, the pre-selling factor is your subject line. The subject line is what your recipients see before they actually open your email that sells them on the idea of the email. So if your subject line is so important because it pre-sells the whole email, then it makes sense for you to make your subject line as good as humanly possible so that your emails are what? Attractive to your recipients. How do you do that? There are a lot of ways to do that, but I like to use what I call curiosity based subject lines. Curiosity based subject lines. This means the subject lines have something about them, something so interesting, so unique that people can't help but click or open them, right? They want to see what is this about? This doesn't make sense. Like this looks very interesting. It's like when you see a headline, a news headline, or a YouTube title that is so interesting that you want to find out more. This is the same strategy we are carrying over to email. Now, to show you exactly what this might look like, I'm going to write three of I'm going to write 3 emails I've sent to my list that are curiosity based, and I'm going to break down exactly the mindsets behind them and how you can apply that to your own email strategy. So let's do that. So curiosity based subject lines. The first one we have here is cheating men, damaged women, and skeptical buyers. And as you can see, it is almost like what in the world is going on. Now remember, my list is a list full of business owners who are interested in learning about marketing. So skeptical buyers is something they understand, right? But when you see things like cheating men, damaged women, skeptical buyers, you're like, okay, what is the correlation, right? And the beautiful thing is, we humans are very, very wired to be interested in things regarding love, relationship, intersexual dynamics, that kind of stuff. So cheating men is actually a very, very, very strong hook. Like when you hear stories of people cheating, you just know, okay, what happened? What did you do? How did he play out? Did he get a divorce? All of those, all of those. So that's very, very cool. Damaged women, again, falls into the intersexual dynamics pathway, essentially. So this is a very, very curiosity-based headline. On to the second one. Copywriting madman uses advertising to find love. Now, if you don't know what copywriting is, basically, how do you sell through the words you write? So essentially, I was trying to say somebody wrote something that made him find love. Essentially, in our modern day terms, it's as if you put out an ad to find a husband or a wife. And because of how good his copywriting was, he was able to find love. So that was the whole premise of the subject now, which is interesting in and of itself. Right? If you hear a news article that somebody wrote a newspaper ad to actually find a wife, like it's very interesting concept. So that's what this was. And it's actually a real life story that happened. It happened like in the 90s. But then a copywriting guru, copywriter, actually used advertising to find love. And I was just telling that story. Then this last one, how fun would it be if I was God? This is just sort of like an imaginary situation, an imaginary scenario. And it's pretty interesting. Like, gives you something to think about. Okay, what am I going to do? How would I act? What would be the first thing I would do? What would I change? What would this guy change? Is his take good or not? So this is just an interesting scenario that piques people's curiosity and makes them want to find out more about what you're writing. That's essentially curiosity-based subject lines. But now, this is the first part of attractiveness. Remember, we spoke about pre-selling, right? In face-to-face interaction, people's how they look, their clothing, their confidence, their posture, all of that leads into pre-selling. But that's the first part of being attractive. The second part of being attractive, to explain that, let me ask you a question. Have you ever seen someone that you thought maybe was immature or rude or maybe prideful in some way, only for you to speak to them and you realize they're actually very mature and they're quite nice people. Maybe they're even humble, right? And you totally misjudge them. I mean, it has happened to me before, probably has happened to you. And the reason our minds change in situations like that is one of the reasons we are attracted to people. And that is because of a good experience. You can call it having a good time, you can call it whatever. But essentially, if you meet somebody and you quote unquote vibe with them, you have a conversation, you enjoy it, maybe you learned something that made you laugh, it was just interesting getting to learn about this person. You become what? Attractive. Or that person becomes attractive to you. Again, not in a romantic sense, just platonic. Person becomes attractive. And that's because you had a good experience. Now, the same thing applies to email marketing. Once you've successfully gotten them to open, they need to have a good experience actually reading your emails. Now, there are a lot of things we can say about writing emails that make you or make your readers have a good experience. But there are two things I'm going to touch on with regards to that. The first way to make people have a good experience is that you want to give them a new perspective on something. So if you meet somebody that just has a really cool perspective to life, maybe they are just really happy people, and you're like, how come you're so happy? Certain bad things have happened to you. How come you take it this way? That new perspective is attractive. Or if you meet somebody that is very, very business oriented, and you're speaking to them, I can see how focused, how determined, how hardworking they are. That's a new perspective. And if you're able to give that in your email, it adds up to what? Attractiveness. So what would that look like? That can look like teaching people something regarding your business. So let's say you're in the skincare industry, teaching them something about skincare that they probably never knew before. Now, this is different from giving value in the sense that you're not teaching your whole methodology, but giving a tip, telling an interesting story, something they've never heard about before, that helps them perceive skincare or the whole industry in a new light. Lends itself to what? Giving them a new perspective. Now, this new perspective can also be about yourself, like pulling the curtains behind a little bit and welcoming them into your life, showing them why you do certain things, how you grew up, the kind of work you do, things that people don't know currently about your life. is also a new perspective. And that makes your emails, but really makes you more attractive to them. So this new perspective sort of positions you a little bit as a guru that has gone through what they are going through and maybe can help them along the way. So you're giving them some tips, some guidance, something to think about essentially. That's the first. The second way can be attractive in emails is to utilize your own personality. And by personality, I mean the same way you meet somebody in real life. And just by the unique way the person acts, maybe the way they talk, their sense of humor, their approach to life, you find them interesting. The same thing can apply to your email marketing to make you more attractive. Now, personality looks like how you actually write, the words you use, the stories you tell, maybe using memes or your sarcasm, things like that all add to your personality. And that's one reason I am not a big fan of using AI in your emails because it sucks all the personality out of it. And even if it gives its personality, it is not your personality. And this is your personality that is important. You want it to feel like they're communicating to a friend and you want it to feel so personal. And the best way to do that is by using your own words, the way you talk in real life, your own slangs, your own unique jokes, things like that, essentially, utilizing your personality. So if you can do these two things, you would make your readers, your recipients, have a good experience such that anytime they see your email, they want to open it. They want to read it. They're interested in seeing what next, what interesting thing do we have here today. So that's just solving the second mistake. Remember, the first mistake is most people's email marketing strategy is leaking. The second mistake is that most people's email marketing strategy is unattractive. Now, the third mistake is that most people's email marketing strategy is unconverting. Essentially, this means even if you've plugged all the holes and your email marketing strategy is no more leaking, and let's say now you're attractive, you're interesting to the average person to open and read, it doesn't necessarily mean they'll buy, right? So unconverting basically means you have not done a sufficient enough job to convince somebody to part with their hard-earned money for your product or service. The question now is, how exactly do you do that? There are three ways to do that, and I'm going to show you exactly how. So the first way to ensure your email marketing strategy as a whole is converting is to have the right lists. To have the right list. When I say have the right list, I mean having the right type of people on your list. Let me just tell you a story. I heard of someone who built a finance list, a personal finance list, to about 3,000 people by posting consistently on Reddit for about a year. Now, after he had gotten that email list of people, he decided to launch a product. I mean, why not? He has worked hard for a year. Let him launch a product. So he spent 2 months creating his product and sold it. I think it was a course. He sold it for $45, which is pretty cheap for a course. $45. And out of about 2,800 people, almost 3,000 people, he had only two sales. Two sales. So after some analysis, what he discovered was it was not about his copy or his product or his offer. It was because the people he had on his list, the people that joined his list from Reddit, didn't really want his offer. They didn't want a course. They didn't really want to change their lives. They sort of enjoyed being in their misery. And you'd be surprised, there are actually people like that. They enjoyed the misery. So ultimately, he had the wrong people on his list. So no matter what he did, he would not be able to convert them. Sometimes people think that marketing is like a magic wand, that you can wave it and then people will automatically buy. But it doesn't work like that. You first have to have the right kind of people, people who want your product or service or wants the outcome it provides before anything we do can work. And you need to ensure that that is the case. So you need to have the right list. If you don't have this, nothing else I say would work. Now, how do you actually know you have the right list? I have a strategy I teach, and I'll just briefly go over it here. That's called the 3 M's, meaning a high quality list would have these three things. The first is motivation, meaning they must want what it is you offer. They must have the motivation. Either they want to solve a problem or they have a desire you can fulfill. That's the motivation. The second is the means. meaning they have the resources or the assets or the lifestyle, whatever it is, to utilize what it is that you sell. Do you understand? So, for instance, if you sell a cleaning service for private jets, they must have a private jet. So that's the means. The last is the mental model. Mental model basically means you must have the right mindset and beliefs for your product or service to work in the best way possible for them. An example I like to use is if you are a coach, you want somebody who actually is coachable, right? Who believes they can be coached and can learn, right? And that is the proper mental model. So if you have all these three things in check, then you have a high quality list. But that's one thing you can do. The second thing you can do to ensure your email marketing is high converting is you want to connect emotionally with your prospects. You want to connect emotionally with your prospects. Now, there are three levels of any kind of persuasion or argument. And there's the logical level, which is where you are just giving the facts, logical or factual. There's the emotional, where selling actually starts. And there's the personal. Personal is basically emotional, but you are bringing the person into it. You're making them feel like, as though this thing actually applies to them. Emotional can be about somebody else, but personal is about you. And as you go down these levels of persuasion, it gets stronger and stronger. But a lot of people get stuck on level one. They try to go in with the logical or factual. They try to sell the products. And the product doesn't sell. The product is factual. I have a car. It has four tires. It can move at 60 miles per hour, whatever that is. That is what logical or factual. Emotional is, why do you need that car? Is this for a prestige purpose? Is it because you worked so hard and you deserve something nice for yourself? Getting into the emotional reason and connecting with your prospects emotionally is what actually drives sales. And a lot of business owners do not do this and they wonder why they can't sell. Even if your product is boring, like cake or coffee or a pair of socks, there's still a way to connect emotionally because what matters is the person, not really the product. So let's say, for instance, sell a pair of socks. Who are you selling to? Are you selling to an athlete who normally has sore feet? How can your socks help that? Like, you just need to understand where the person is, what they are trying to achieve, and connect with them emotionally. Does it make sense? I'm just assuming you said yes, that it makes sense. So let me give you an example of what emotional connection might look like. And then we'll move into the third point of unconverting emails. So as you can see, this email is from Taylor Duke's Wellness. And subject line, if you feel off, this is where to start, which is a really good subject line because a lot of people feel off. They don't know what is wrong with them. She's in the health industry, so that is a very solid subject line. Now you enter, and the first thing that stands out to me is the picture. Normally, I'm not a big fan of pictures in emails, but then this picture actually evokes an emotion, which contributes towards connecting emotionally. So it's fine. And then you can see, she says, in my 20s, my health quietly fell apart. I was exhausted, bloated, dealing with joint pain, skin issues, digestive problems, and hormones that were way off. What is she doing? She's telling her story of her struggles. Now, if somebody is in that same situation as she was, the person feels like she can understand them. She has connected with that person emotionally already, right? The person feels like she has gone through it before, so she probably understands what he or she is currently going through. Now, she could have taken this deeper and told stories of what exhaustion or bloating actually feels like. Maybe she went to work in the morning and then collapsed before noon, or she couldn't focus in school, or just tell a story that actually demonstrates that. But this is a solid start. Now, she went deep and said, what made it harder was being told again and again that my labs were normal and my symptoms were something I just had to live with. Now, this is something a lot of people in the health industry or people that are currently struggling with their health have to deal with because their doctor says your lab is normal, there's nothing wrong with you, you just have to deal with it. And people on her list can resonate with that. So she's connecting with them emotionally already. Anything she's trying to sell after that is just bonus points. You understand? She can sell anything because she has connected with them already. But that's just the second. The second way of ensuring your email strategy as a whole is converting. Now, the third thing to do to ensure that your emails are high converting is you need to ensure that you use the right kind of proof. Now, obviously, you've heard about proof before. You've heard about use of case studies, testimonials, before and after pictures, all of that. And that is very good. You should be using them. But the question is, how do you maximize them to make them work as much as possible, right? And the first thing you need to do is you need to make them believable. Because the problem is we have so many people who have claimed something and it turns out they were lying. So if you are claiming that your product or service has worked for somebody before, how do you ensure it's as believable as possible? Now, there are a couple of ways to do it. The first way is video proof is greater than text-based proof. So if somebody shows a video of them using your product or service and say, maybe this is the way my face was before, this is my face now, this is how I apply this product, it is more believable than a text-based testimonial. That's the first thing. The second thing is, if you are using a text-based testimonial, there are things you can do to make it stronger, to make it more believable. The first is you always want to use the full name of the person that gave the testimonial. Very important. If you can do it, use their full name. The second is you want to add their state and country. If you can do it, you should add that. Thirdly, you want to have their gender and age. Again, the idea is you want to give as much information as possible to let people know that this person is a real, verifiable person. If possible, you also want to have their picture. Now, you may not want to put the picture in the email, but then on your website, stuff like that, you can have their picture. Then lastly, if possible, you might want to have their social media handles, right? So maybe Instagram, Twitter, so that people can see that, okay, this is actually a real person. You need just make up the testimonial. They can check out, they can verify this person is real. That way, your proof is more believable. And if you're able to achieve believability in your proof, people will be more likely to buy your product or service. But that's the first way of utilizing proof. The second way of utilizing proof is to ensure that your proof actually handles objections. Handles objections. And by that, I mean, you need to make a list of all the objections people give you to buy your product or service. Whether it's too expensive, will it work for me? Let's say I'm a stay-at-home mom. Would I be able to use this? Would it work for my kid? Would it work for my skin type, my complexion? Any objection someone gives you, I don't have enough time. Any objection, you want to look for testimonials that handle that objection specifically and use them in your emails. So if an objection is, I don't have enough time, and let's say you're selling a program to help somebody learn a particular skill. So you want to look for a testimonial of somebody who has used your product or service and maybe is working 2 jobs, has 3 children, literally is short on time, but was able to make it work because of how your program or your course is structured. So you can handle the objection of I don't have enough time, right? That is how to utilize proof to handle objection. So we've spoken about 3 things. The first is most people's email marketing strategy is leaking, and we've discussed how to fix that, right? High quality lists, check your bounce rates, ensure you're not on any blacklists. The second is most people's email marketing strategy is unattractive. We've spoken about pre-selling using your subject lines. We've spoken about giving a good experience using the actual content of your emails. And then most people's strategy is unconverting. And we've spoken about utilizing proof. We've spoken about connecting emotionally with your customers or your recipients of your emails. And we've also spoken about having the right kind of people on your list. If you fix these 3 things, I can assure you your next email campaign is probably going to be your best email campaign. Now, I've taken you through the levels of the things you need to fix. But what I have not done is I've not shown you a from top to bottom full strategy for your email marketing. Like how to get the right kind of people on your list, how to actually write the emails, different types of emails to write, and all of that. If you want to learn my A to Z strategy of growing and scaling your email marketing revenue to 6 figures per month and beyond, watch this video here.